up, everyone? Tyler here with Andrew for another special edition of the Luxury Tax. But before we get into our interview with our special guest, we got to shout out our friends at Home Field. They are the official apparel partner for the Ally Tip-Off in Charlotte. We're going to be there with boots on the ground, myself and Shawnee, with coverage for the games. Home Field will be there with the shirts on the seats, with apparel for all four teams there, and your team at home as well, to use code NOCAP15 to get 15% off your first order. But I want to talk to someone that's really going to be in Charlotte for real, and on the sidelines.
Wait, hold on. There we go.
Okay, drum roll. Head coach of Virginia Tech, Megan Duffy. Coach, first off, congrats on a win. That's 1-0. That's a great way to start.
First at Virginia Tech. Come
on, this is a momentous occasion. Just for you, just trying to get rolling here. Getting the first one under the belt, obviously a new school, a new program. How does it feel just kind of to get that first one out of the way like that?
Well, hi, Tyler. Andrew, thanks for having me on.
Yes.
Excited to be here. I always say coaches are in a great mood after a win versus the alternative. So, last night was amazing. Just to be in Castle, the kickoff day of women's and men's college basketball was just tremendous. I mean, there were games starting at 11 a.m. all the way through the evening, and just getting back to following scores and flipping on games in between ours was great. And always feels good to get the first win. I was very proud of our team for coming out ready to play, ready to go. We have a lot of new faces and young faces. So for them to get the jitters out, nerves out, and perform like they did was awesome.
That was kind of the thing that I wrote about in my takeaway column that just hit today, nocapspacewbb.com for those that are watching right now. It felt very much like the kids are all right moment for you guys, especially given the changeover in coaches, faces that were foundational to that program. A Liz Kitley that goes to the Aces, Georgia Amore and Claire Strack going to Kentucky. And you come in, you have all of these new people, you have transfers that come with you. You've got freshmen like Kel Peterson, and you beat the brakes off a team like that. I mean, how validating was that for you, for your team, but also for the fan base that I'm sure had a lot of questions about what does a Megan Duffy Virginia Tech look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a lot of transition and change back in late spring and early summer. And, understandably, there was a lot of emotions. And I think the one positive thing was, I'm in a very special place and got a great job and just thrilled to be the new women's basketball coach here. And I think there's a lot of noise on the outside sometimes, but, when you're in coaching and you're doing it for the right reasons about, mentoring and teaching, young women and student athletes, like you kind of put your blinders on and just go to work, and you take the team you have. And I liked our returners. I mean, they're chomping at the bit for a new experience, and and then you add, transfer and some freshmen, and you just get to work and roll up your sleeves. And after one game, the season's not over either.
Right.
We have a lot to learn from that. And, but I was just happy for our players, for our fan base to have just such positive energy in the building. Castle lives up to the hype of just the fan base and the enthusiasm for both our programs on the men's side and our side. And it's just a really unique night. And again, this is a marathon season. So we're going to enjoy a little bit of last night and then get to work moving forward.
For the off season, what is the fun of program building? Because I feel like there is
fun.
Well, that's kind of what I mean, right? What is the challenge? What is the enjoyment? Is there any enjoyment? Because I feel like we talk so much about once coaches get to the top, the challenge is maintaining a standard and a level of excellence. But I've also talked to coaches over my career covering the sport where they've enjoyed the climb, and there is a gratitude of the climb that they seem to gravitate towards. What was your experience like this summer when it comes to the build? And are you someone that enjoys the build, or are you someone that enjoys having a standard and finding new and intricate ways to maintain the standard?
That's a great question. Thanks for that. I've been in both parts of it. I've been in building new programs. I've been in parts where you had to sustain it. I think they all have unique challenges. I think all of them are equally hard. I don't think there's one way you can say, oh, it's easier to do this than the other one. I think when you take over a new program, I always say that there's not enough hours in the day. You're trying to get everything right from, especially with the new wave of the transfer portal and NIL and just some unique dynamics. You're trying to solidify and stabilize your roster, obviously hire a staff. And even with our community here at Virginia Tech, just figuring out time to meet our fan base and our supporters and our donors. I think the biggest thing, I was just pulled in a lot of different directions, and I think it was fun though. I think you said the word fun. Is it fun to build? Yeah, it definitely is, because you're putting a bunch of new people in the same room. You got to get everybody on the same page. It's a challenge as a leader, but I really enjoy that part about it, to get to know different people's personalities. You have to be steadfast with your vision and what you want it to look like. You have to practice what you preach with your own words and your actions. And then there's also an incredible level of patience you have to have. You want it so bad right away. And, when you have a fan base like this that, has been used to winning, you want to make them proud and do the right thing, but it does take time. And that's what I've, asked our group here at Tech, is we have to be patient, but also just know we're going to give every ounce of our energy as a coaching staff into these student athletes and help push them in the right direction, and also give them a little bit of grace that they are young players, and it's going to take some time, and we're going to have some bumps and up and down moments, but I enjoy it. It's pretty cool, when you can, sustain your winning as well. But it's also fun when you have a little chip on your shoulder and, you have to defy a little bit of, some expectations and go from there.
I was going to say, what fun is being a coach if you don't get to tell journalists to suck it every now and then,
I didn't even mention we have to deal with the media too. So
look, hey, hands up,
right here we are.
Hands up. I'm interested. You mentioned the aspect, being a special place, a special fan base, a program that has had winning in the past. I'm just interested, just from a personal perspective, what was whether it be a factor or multiple factors, where it was this is the job to jump at and to go after and to build with. What made Virginia Tech special in that way?
Yeah, I'm so appreciative of my time at Marquette. We had some great teams, went to the NCAA tournament. It's a basketball school in a lot of ways, because there's no football, and what, Shaka had done on the men's side, and then our consistency on the women's side was pretty cool. And so I knew if there was going to be, a jump up to the P4 level, ACC or Big Ten, SEC, whatever it was, it had to be the right fit and the right place for myself and my family. And I think the thing I've told this story, I just kind of watched from afar Virginia Tech, and just, the run to the Final Four, and just the way they were just a unique entity in the ACC. I'm like, man, I'm willing to listen to this one. And, Whit, our athletics director, just really believed in what he was talking about. He has that blue collar mindset. He's a genuine, humble guy, which I really appreciate. And then you also feel his competitiveness of wanting to win and wanting our, all of our sports to be really good. And so I just felt that alignment. I wanted the challenge of being in the ACC, just the way this conference from top to bottom has grown, with the depth, the multiple teams that are getting to the tournament now. You're talking 8 to 10 teams potentially every year with this expansion. So I knew I wanted to be in the mix with that. And then I get here, and it kind of lives up to all the hype. The people are so nice here. It's a little bit, of this true college town. So people are just so into the sports and into helping these kids have a great experience on and off the court. And that's what I've always been about, making sure the student athlete experience is as good as it can be, and continuing to evolve and adapt and change with that. And that's what I found here. And last night in our first game was kind of indicative of all of it, just how appreciative people were, and the energy. And I got to see Enter Sandman for the first time from the basketball side, which was a cool moment. And yeah, we're really happy to be here, and really happy about this journey ahead. It's going to be a long journey for sure, but just happy to get it going officially.
Yeah. So when you took the job, naturally, every media, the newspapers have a big announcement that, Megan Duffy is taking the Virginia Tech job. But I was online today doing some prep for this interview, and I found a particularly important announcement. Actually, it's your LinkedIn announcement saying that you are the new head basketball coach at Virginia Tech. And I'm curious here, do you update your LinkedIn regularly in this way, even throughout the entirety of your coaching career?
I don't know. I'm not on social media a ton. I'm probably doing less than I've ever done. So I don't know. I don't even remember doing that. Maybe when when you click on something, it switches it for you. Because I do not remember that line. At least it says Virginia Tech in the right school. I don't know.
Oh no, it was spot on. Like it was perfect. So
yeah, I don't do much on LinkedIn. Compared to, I don't really do much on social media. I'm on occasionally. I retweet stuff to support our page, but there's too much going on with the job to worry a lot about that. But thanks guys for pointing it out. I'm glad it's updated, I guess.
It did make me curious about something here because, we've brought it up before with players, right? Like Caitlin Chen over at UConn, like she has her LinkedIn updated naturally because she went to Princeton, right? But we also have coaches that have done the same. And I always found coaching within athletics to be it's who you know, it's everyone's kind of a phone call away, 6 degrees of separation type thing. Like, has there ever been a scenario where you have posted an application for a job or you've applied to a job through kind of the more traditional means that way and gotten connected and networked with people that way? Have you ever heard of that happening? Or is it more of what we think it is, which is you pick up the phone or somebody else picks up the phone and says, hey, would you be interested in taking this job at this place?
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't really happen like on LinkedIn or anything like that. And I remember early in my career, like you would look a lot at, like when I was a young assistant, you would look at maybe some job openings on the NCAA website where you had to like formally, apply, or they'd have the formal job description. They still do that. And so like our Women's Basketball Coaches Association page has it, but the traditional way that people use LinkedIn is different in our world. It's definitely a little bit of who you know. And even like I tease about this, like in coaching changes, it's not your normal, like you can give your previous school a 2-week notice and, you can kind of finish up stuff. I mean, it is top secret. It happens within hours. You have to make kind of a life decision. And, that's where it can get a little bit like uneasy with fan bases because, you go from that and then changes happen. So it's definitely not your normal typical world. You can always say your goodbyes like you want to. And there's still people at Marquette I wish I could have said more to or been in person to give them a hug and say thank you. But it's just kind of, that's one of the not fun parts about the changes. But yeah, not LinkedIn. It's a little bit more agents and phone calls and, at this point in my career anyways.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things where I feel like, at least on the surface, like your exit from Marquette still seemed like it was on pretty copacetic terms. Like they had an announcement, an article for you, and said like she is moving on. There's some schools that don't give their outgoing head coach the, courtesy of doing so. For you, how quickly did the process turn? Because these things do go really, really quickly. And in certain cases too, if it's the first choice or a second or a third choice, it's like you said, it's like, hey, we need your answer now if you want this job or if you don't want this job. How tight was the time window for getting the offer from Virginia Tech to having to take the offer from Virginia Tech?
Yeah, it's a really tight window, and it's a little bit stressful. And because again, you're uprooting your families, other people's families. It's not a fun process with your current team where you're at. Even it's probably it's the weirdest day because even when you have to tell your team that you're leaving, it's awful. It's brutal. There's tears, there's shock, and then you get introduced and you have a new set of players. It's not ideal. And again, to impact those student athletes that way is challenging. And, but it's a little bit part of the business side of it. And, like I mentioned, was so appreciative of my time at Marquette and what we built and what we did. We defied a lot of odds in my 5 years, and just watching the players overcome adversity and, get them to get to their max potential is really cool. And, as much as I can, cheer from them from afar, rooting them on, I want them to be super successful as Kara takes over. And, it's just kind of, it is what it is with how it happens, unfortunately.
Yeah. I'm interested just even on the court, just in game one, because you mentioned kind of like the relationship aspect with the players, and this looked like a team that was very well connected off from the jump. Even if you're just looking across the box score of 5 players in double figures, 61% from the field, like these are marks of a team that was flowing very well on the court. I'm just interested for you, like as a fan and like, you know, if you're watching the game, like that's very fun. Like seeing a lot of different players be able to eat, get some points on the board and things of that nature. What is the satisfaction level for you as a coach when obviously you have this whole summer, you go into the first game and you're able to kind of have a team win of sorts in that way where so many players are getting to kind of contribute to the win in that way?
It was definitely a team win. And I think, we talk a lot about our standards and our culture. We build it every day. You can take a step back with your culture and you can move 2 steps forward. And so we're always taking that temperature. And that means the energy, the passion we play with. I think they're genuinely excited for each other when people were making good plays. There was a lot of, touches and high fives and pointing at somebody when they made the right pass up the floor. And obviously when it's going well, it's easy to do that. Right. The energy in the building continues to rise up. And we've just talked about whether it's good or bad, just how we want to treat each other, how we want to go about our business from a positive mentality, but also grind in our work ethic and our toughness. And we're a ways away from getting it to where I want it to be, but obviously for the first game and where there's a lot of unknowns to see your team come together. And that's why I was just so proud of even the players coming off the bench. We had a couple little just moments in the game where we dropped a little bit. And, when I subbed, we got stronger in a lot of ways. And then you talk about the beginning of the game where our starters were, awesome, right off the bat. So if you can keep getting those inner workings together of your culture and the way they respond to each other and build chemistry. I'm a big believer, like women, you need to, get along. And as you're competitive as heck, you also got to be genuinely happy for each other. And we're making some good strides with that.
What do you prefer? Do you prefer as a coach when it's good on good, you and your opponent, everybody's making shots, it's tight till the very end, but there's still no guarantee of that win there? Or do you prefer as a coach the kinds of games where your team is just hitting everything and there's just like the infectious joy, you're burying your opponent? Like, do you want the tight games, or do you like the ones where you're making everything and they're missing everything?
I mean, I was happy anytime our team makes shots. It's a good thing, right? So whether it's a tight game or it's a little bit of an extended score, whatever it is, like I'm just, and the team knows this, I'm about execution. I'm about playing the right way. I'm about us being, connected on the court. So there's good with both, sides you presented. So, when you have a little bit of, some wiggle room, but then there's also when those games are close and it's heated and you go back to your preparation and execution down the stretch, those are equally fun. I've been in a lot of those as well. So, I mean, there'll be throughout this year, I can only imagine all the stories there'll be, and then we'll be on the wrong end of a game at some point too. Mm-hmm. So that's part of the marathon of the season. And especially with a young team, it's about, we talk a lot in our program about relentless growth. It's not about being perfect or hitting every shot. It's about putting a good quality brand out there and, striving with each other to get a little bit better every day and not get too high or too low about anything that happens.
You played under Muffet McGraw at Notre Dame. Do you have any Muffet-isms? Like, are there any things that come out of your mouth sometimes when coaching where you're like, yeah, she used to say that to me?
Coach is from Philly, so she says yo a lot. From like Gino's from that area. There's some coaches that have come through that that area and space, and so they say yo a lot. So I've caught myself occasionally saying that. I think the biggest thing that, like, and this is a compliment to Coach, like just her feistiness and tenacity to coach as hard as she can and be prepared is what I always respect about her. So anything that I can emulate from her or people compare me to her, I'll take it. I love it. She was obviously a phenomenal coach, still is, and a huge influence in my life still today. And I always say, if I didn't have the experience like I did in college playing for her, I probably wouldn't be in this chair and in these shoes doing what I'm doing now.
It's amazing because we have this historical profile series that we do on our site. I've talked to Teresa Grentz and Kathy Rush and Chris Daly and those Rutgers crew, like all of that OG Philly guard that Muffet was a part of. And, you talk to women of that generation, and so much of it at that time, post Title IX, was about being leaders for women of future generations. And, we talk about this all the time. It's, I think, kind of devolved into cliche every now and then, but like coaching is about the leadership of people and molding people beyond player into something that, you know, unlocking something within them to be greater than what they are. How much did having Muffet, especially as somebody who is very outspoken about, we need more women coaches, we need more avenues for women to get these opportunities, not just in college basketball, but in the WNBA too. How much does that influence you even today about looking beyond, you know, the wins and losses, X's and O's, and developing these women into leadership roles or into future coaches or into future business leaders in the way that she always kind of seemed that she wanted to do with you guys and all of the players that she had?
You know, whether I realized it or not, she was a great example for me at an early age about representation. I mean, she was the first female coach and leader that I had played for, because it wasn't super common back then.
Mm-hmm.
And just, you know, being able to play for somebody that, you know, had equal amounts or better IQ from the basketball side, amazing teacher. You know, she could be herself. She was hard-nosed. She didn't have to suppress who she was. Those are just some things I remember learning. And then, you know, it became just more normal as you saw the Pat Summits of the world and, you know, coach come up the ranks of like, we can handle having families and being in this, you know, position as head coaches and all the demands of it. You can have it all. Is it hard? Absolutely. So I just remember just seeing representation early on, you know, and as she's retired, just her voice and platform to speak on behalf and for other female leaders and coaches. And it's pretty amazing how she's used her platform. And it gives me perspective of even coaches below me of how, you know, how the standards need to be, how we do have to balance more, and whether that's getting more African-American female coaches in our game or female coaches in general. I think we all can have a voice in it. And she really started that along with the coaches you mentioned before. And now what you're seeing with, you know, Dawn Staley and how she's mentoring down, I think we've all been impacted by it. And it's super cool that when you come into work, it's a bigger cause than just X's and O's and trying to make threes and win a basketball game. You truly have a platform. You truly have the ability to mentor young women and men in our business. And that's what you're seeing with our crowds across the country. It's not just women, it's all people who are welcomed into this community. And it's pretty amazing, really.
Just a couple more for you, and we appreciate you being so generous with your time with us. You are a former Minnesota Lynx player, you know, in the aughts of the 2000s there. How crazy has it been watching the growth of the W, especially as like a viable avenue for a lot of these girls? We're getting expansion, we're getting roster increases. That I'd imagine has to be so gratifying that it's now getting to a place, and it always has been to a degree, but even more so in the next couple of years, a place where for every player at every level, it's aspirational now. Like the pay is getting to an aspirational point. The roster spots are getting to an aspirational point. How much of a difference is that from when you were in the league, and how cool is it to see now?
Sometimes I just want to say about time, right? Yeah, it's great to see. I think we've made some huge, you know, strides with where the league has gone. Even I was around the time where it was like the 10-year mark, and there was so much still in flux, and you know, fan support and owners selling the teams, and it was supported by the NBA so much. And it's really evolved. And as you can see on TV with the crowds being, you know, sold out, and you're getting these star power in the league, the Caitlin Clarks, Angel Reese's, but you know, it's the Candace Parkers, Diana Taurasi's, you know, some of those original players that just their longevity helped to build this. I think the big thing is we have to keep pushing the envelope. We can't just be satisfied that, oh, finally we got there. It's been a lot of hard work by a lot of generations. And but it's what's amazing when you invest in it, when companies invest, when you get the right TV slots to put women's basketball games on, whether it's collegiately or, you know, in the WNBA, you're seeing great numbers. And I think if we continue to push the envelope and, you know, these networks continue to put us in slots and market these players, it's going to be amazing. And unfortunately, we're decades behind because it wasn't like that before. So, but we're making up ground, and I'm just thrilled to be a part of it and to be able, in my position, then to tell my current players that there is hope that you can truly make a WNBA team and you can play overseas. And, there are more roster spots coming. It's still not enough, but the fact that the dream can be a reality is really cool. And again, it's the elite of the elite. So as much as we can continue to expand that, that's a good thing.
My last one for you before I toss it back over to Tyler. Do you remember who gave you your welcome to the WNBA moment?
Yeah, I mean, I remember playing against Dawn Staley. It was one of her last years in the league. And, just it's more so not welcome to the WNBA, just like, oh my gosh, I made it. I'm here. I remember playing against Sue Bird for the first time, somebody I really looked up to. I remember getting in a jump ball with Katie Smith, who's now a coach with the Minnesota Lynx, but she was from Ohio, from where I'm from. And I was like, she showed no mercy in that loose ball. So, by no means was I a star in the league, but I always tell, hey, Ma, I made it. And I got so much experience, even learning how to be a pro and just how to be a better coach and better point guard. And I know that's really set me up for where I'm at today.
Well, Coach, we're incredibly grateful for your time. My last one here for you is just kind of a general one that we like to ask people as they're on their way out. Obviously, we got a taste in game one of what a Megan Duffy Virginia Tech team is going to look like this season. But for whether it be neutral fans that are going to be tapped in the game against Iowa on a national stage and see them for the first time, or for Virginia Tech fans that are still kind of learning this new style, some of these new faces, what are kind of if you were to bullet point a couple things that just make a Megan Duffy team, and what fans should expect to enjoy from this team this season, what would those things be?
Well, I hope quickly it'll be not Megan Duffy. It'll be Virginia Tech Hokie basketball as we evolved. And, I think for our team, we want to build our toughness. We want to be gritty. I think, as you saw in game one, we want to be balanced and share the basketball. Yeah. Pro style offense to me is spacing, interchangeable positions, 3-level scoring. We're going to keep evolving and tweaking our offense as we move forward, based on our personnel. So I think that's going to be kind of the vibe of us. I think for us early, we want to be really good defensively and rebounding the basketball. That can always give your offense a little bit more time and patience as you go. But again, I just want, as you guys mentioned before, when you come to Castle, you're like, man, that was a really fun game to watch. Yeah. Up tempo, just good quality basketball. Kids look like they're having fun. Great celebrations on the bench. That's ideally what we want it to look like.
I love it. Coach, again, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck this season. Best of luck in Charlotte this weekend. And again, thank you. We appreciate you a ton.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Make sure you guys stay tapped in here with No Cap Space across the board. All the links down below will be boots on the ground in Charlotte this weekend and covering this entire women's college basketball season. Tap in with us, and we'll see you next time.